There was never a time I didn't know Luke Simmons. We grew up on the same street. Our families were friends. We lived about a block and a half apart on Church Street in downtown, the old section of Charleston. But Luke was always the nicest boy in the whole crowd. You know, some of the boys would tease you if you had curls, pull your curls, or pull your hair, or just tease you. But not Luke. I can't remember that he ever went through a bad period. He just was always nice. And of course, I had no idea, when we all graduated from high school and went our different directions, that he and I would end up in the same city all over again. The nice thing, of course, is that he then married Susan. And so I have known them as a couple for many years, I guess several decades now. And I admire both of them so much. I like both of them so much. Each I like, and together I like.
I was at Wellesley, and I was dating a person at the Harvard Business School. And his good friend was dating my best buddy at Wellesley. So he sent Luke a postcard and said, she's coming home for the summer, you might look her up. So he did. And that's how we met. I think it probably cost him 3 cents. So that was the summer of my junior year. And then by the spring, we were engaged. Well, primarily he was focused on J.C. Bradford and Company. I mean, he just, that was his primary focus. And I, in the early days, was there raising the family.
J.C. Bradford was the largest regional brokerage firm in the country. I mean, 80 plus offices as I recall, and he ran it on a daily basis with his former college roommate Jimmy Bradford, and it was just an incredible business.
I joined J.C. Bradford right out of college, and I did not have a skill set. I had no finance degree. I certainly had no investment banking skills, but J.C. Bradford and Company took a risk, and it was off to the races for 18 fantastic years. And what I was so grateful about was the leadership that Luke Simmons provided, because let's be clear, he set the vision and he led a company of about 2,500 people at the time. Years after Bradford sold, I went on to work for several companies and served in some leadership roles, and surely did my best to bring the skills that he had taught me in our firm and deployed those at the companies where I worked. And for that, of course, will always be grateful to Luke Simmons.
Well, I recall when Luke was first appointed to the Convention Center Authority by then Mayor Dean, he came into the office and we did a bit of an orientation about what Music City Center was going to be and what the project management team did. Well, what I vividly remember is Luke saying, I don't know anything about construction and I'm not sure I want to know anything about construction. And I would say, but you know a lot about finance. And he was keenly interested in the construction process and an incredible supporter of the project management team. Brought great balance to the Convention Center Authority because of that financial thing, but also as a very good manager. He was very supportive of me. I remember conversations we had on the side as I was looking to how to do things or an opinion with a difficult situation.
I joined J.C. Bradford in 1991, hired by Luke. I interviewed with Luke, and it was a big move for us. But it turned out to be far and away the best decision, at least from a career standpoint and for me from a family standpoint as well. It was very important to Jimmy Bradford and Luke Simmons that J.C. Bradford, the partnership, be looked at as a very good corporate citizen in whatever community a Bradford office was operating in. For example, the two charities I remember him being very involved in the early 90s were, and there were many others than this, but United Way and Junior Achievement. And around about bonus time, Luke would always come around and encourage everybody to give to one of those, if not both of those charities, or to whatever charity we might be involved in. But Luke always walked the halls and said it's bonus time, and make sure that some of that bonus makes its way into the community.
What Jim and Natalie have meant to Knoxville and Tennessee, in many ways Luke and Susan have meant to Nashville and Tennessee. I mean, Susan, of course, the political career and then the government career and the what she's meant to the community and philanthropy and good causes in Nashville and Tennessee is incredible.
I remember very well going to the Capitol and lobbying for the Equal Rights Amendment. And one time I was there and Phyllis Schlafly came. And, you know, it was just, wow. I don't know, it was very important to me to pass the Equal Rights Amendment. Of course, she was against it. But anyway, shortly thereafter, we had this governor called Ray Blanton, who was, for all practical purposes, selling pardons. But he was also selling liquor licenses, but that's another story. And it led me to think that I needed to do something to get rid of him. And so that's why I suggested to Lamar Alexander that if he was going to run again, that I'd like to help him.
Well, we got in politics together. She held one of the first fundraisers for me when I ran and didn't win the governorship in 1974. And then she was the state finance director in 1978 when I won the governorship. My goal in setting up a cabinet was to sort of restore confidence in state government because it had been so tarnished by what had gone on in the Blanton administration. And I also wanted to have more women because I think throughout the nearly 200 years there were only 6 women cabinet members. And when appointing women then, they didn't have the same resume that the men did. They didn't have the same opportunities. So you took a chance there, but you also got a big dividend if you guessed right. And with Susan and with several of the others, I guessed right. She did that job as well as anybody could have, both jobs. Chairman of Alcoholic Beverage, she cleaned that up. And General Services, she cleaned that up.
In 1978, I had been Lamar's East Tennessee chairman. And so Lamar asked me to be the finance chair for his re-election in '82. And he said, now Ingram's on board, of course, and we've hired Susan Simmons to be the paid finance chair. Do you know Susan? I said, only by reputation. And so I went to see Susan. And we met, and I'll let Susan also comment on this if you were sitting here, but it wasn't the best of meetings. I went home and I said, Natalie, Lamar and Tom want me to use this lady, Susan Simmons. There's no way she and I can get along. Fast forward the end of the campaign. We raised more money than ever. We had the best time ever. We have been friends forever. And she came out with the name, the Dragon Lady. She was always getting on everybody over there. And one day I came in and I walked in, and I didn't know where she was, and I said, oh, where's the Dragon Lady? So show them the dragon.
So then when she's installed as Commissioner of General Services, we had a ceremony, and the name was well established by then. So we thought she should have something in her office to symbolize it. So I found this somewhere, and it's much nicer than I remember. And it was a joke, kind of a joke then, but this is pretty serious. But she did earn the name, and it wasn't the witch on the broomstick. It was a really tough, disciplined, get it done.
But effective.
Person, and that's why that first meeting didn't go so well. Jim was accustomed to a different kind of lady, and Susan was looking for a different kind of man.
But seriously, Susan is one of the most effective managers, male or female, I've ever been associated with. She did a great job, and then I'll tell you what, there's not a better man than Luke. I've been tremendously successful in business. And they're just a great couple. They've done so very much for our state. And Natalie joins me in congratulating them for this wonderful award.
I have so admired their taste in art, particularly the visual arts. They have had an extraordinary collection that they've put together over the years. And they've done it together and had such a good time doing it.
When I was a senior, Luke and I became engaged, and he sent me a painting. And it was just really, really amazing to think that someone that age that I was about to marry would send me a painting. It was beautiful, and I loved it. But he had already started collecting art. And so the two of us together continued. And over the years, we have bought a large amount of art, from things like sculpture to paintings to crafts, and it has really, it's really enhanced our lives. But then we started traveling a lot with the Society of International Business Fellows, and also with friends, other friends. And I would take pictures and then they'd just sit. So I started sketching, and I was really bad. So I determined that if I was going to do that, then I probably needed to take some lessons. So I did. I took lessons with Charles Brindley and learned to draw, learned perspective. And I mean, those skills have carried forward to what I'm doing now. And he encouraged me to start painting in oil. And that is my passion. I love oil. I've tried acrylic, I've tried watercolor, and I just go back to oil because it just works for me.
And the other thing that is interesting and sort of a strange coincidence is we both have become very interested in Vanderbilt's Cancer Center, the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center that one of my sons really pushed to get started after his father, my husband, died. And, you know, and several in my family have been served there as well. But Susan and Luke have had a very big personal interest in it, but they've also been helped by what goes on there. So, but they don't do anything just halfway. If they're involved, they're all in. And I so admire them with that.
For over 20 years, Susan and Luke Simmons have invested in discovery science at the Vanderbilt Ingram Cancer Center to really accelerate research for discoveries that could make a difference in people's lives. So with that backdrop, you know, a dear friend, Jimmy Bradford, gets diagnosed with advanced stage metastatic melanoma. I remember sitting with Jimmy in my office and him saying, I'd like to make a gift that will help someone else. And it was remarkable because then Tootie and Jimmy Bradford followed in the footsteps of Luke and Susan Simmons and started an investment in a discovery grant, this time for melanoma. Sadly, Jimmy passed away. And after that, Luke and Susan led the charge with Tootie Bradford to establish an endowed research fund for melanoma research. Then something unexpected happened, and Luke was diagnosed with advanced stage metastatic melanoma. He was the direct recipient of the therapies that he, Susan, Tootie, and so many other friends and colleagues had invested in the research portfolio to enable. And so the benefit to Luke and thousands worldwide based on discoveries, it's truly the full circle story.
The unusual thing about Vanderbilt, the medical center in particular, and the cancer center in particular, is that it's a collaborative venture. I mean, really good people. They're smart, but they are just lovely individuals, and that has just expanded our lives so much. And then, of course, we had the problem with Luke having metastatic melanoma. That included a tumor in the brain, pancreas, and lungs. That was 5 years ago. And ordinarily, for instance, his partner Jimmy Bradford is no longer here because his melanoma occurred prior to immunotherapy, prior to the cure that has helped Luke be with us. And I mean, how important is that? That's just really something. And those people at Vanderbilt were with us all the way.
This couple has, not just on Vanderbilt Medical Center, but on so many places like Vanderbilt Medical Center in Nashville, they've had that kind of impact. So I think we are right to award this very prestigious award to the two of them, because this award is all about that kind of amazing impact, and that's what they've had.
And I think particularly of the Community Foundation is something that they have been very much in favor of and really worked to help along the way from its very beginnings, with Ida Cooney really pushing it through HCA, trying to get people interested in creating a community foundation, which we did not have until just not very many years ago. But they have worked tirelessly on that.
Let's see, I started working with Ellen on the building committee, trying to find a new place almost from the time that Community Foundation moved into their existing building. The search, as the building began to deteriorate, the search got more and more serious. And we looked at literally dozens of different opportunities to build, to buy, to do, to figure out how to occupy. But when Susan came on as the head, she said, during my tenure, we are going to find a new place to go. And it was her determination, focus, and the fact that this property appeared that made it happen.
Well, she was actually one of the first people I met when I came to Harpeth Hall in 1998. And I was so impressed with this accomplished alumna, and I thought, we have to have her on our board. So in 2000, she was elected as a trustee, and almost immediately, she became chair of the Major Gifts Committee. We were beginning a capital campaign that was called the Campaign for Harpeth Hall. It would ultimately raise $44.2 million. She was the chair of the Major Gifts, and Major Gifts were $33 million. So in her time as board chair, we wrote a new mission statement to more accurately reflect education in the 21st century. The Hortense Bigelow Ingram Upper School was completed. We installed the first turf field for girls in the state and laid the foundation of a capital campaign, a next capital campaign for the stunning athletic and wellness center that we have now at Harpeth Hall. And we purchased 6.3 acres of contiguous property during that time. And that is where Susan's determination and vision and boldness was most demonstrated in my mind, because she was relentless in her determination that this was important for the school. And as we look back now on what's happened in Nashville, we'd never be able to assemble that kind of property. In fact, it was not long after we assembled it that we could look back and say, we would never be able to do this again.
I had the privilege of getting to know Susan Simmons when I was the CEO at Alive Hospice. She, along with a number of other individuals, had this vision to create a residence at Alive Hospice. Not just a hospice service to be able to care for people in their homes when they pass away, but to acknowledge that some people needed a little extra, and maybe the home wasn't where they wanted to be. And so many people told them, no, that's a stupid idea. Alive can't afford it. It's a bad thing. Don't do it. But she wasn't willing to take no for an answer. And she, really invested her time and energy in Alive in memory and honor of her friend Betty Brown, which is astounding to me that this best friendship that she had for so long just lives in her philanthropy. But she took something people said couldn't be done, and she found a way to make it happen.
Susan is an amazing career woman, and she was in leadership positions beyond which most anybody gets to in their career at a time when very, very few women were in leadership positions. In the nonprofit sector, she's led so many boards, I can't name them all, and she really has an eye to what is going to optimize that organization. And she comes in with an agenda and she works it.
Grandmommy and Daddy Luke. And it's funny, I can't remember how old I was, but maybe around graduating high school or something like that, Grandmommy sat me down and opened the conversation of like, all right, you're an adult now. Like, would you like to start calling me Susan? I was like, no. It's interesting, you kind of grow up around philanthropists and maybe they're value driven, maybe they're faith driven. And you get a sense of why they do it, why it's important to them. And it was interesting in thinking about this award and thinking about their philanthropy, I couldn't pinpoint why they do it. I don't think they've ever mentioned why they do it. And to me, that just suggests to them that it's obvious. It's just something that is understood, that you will always do and be for others. And it's never seemed to be driven by anything other than that.
From the time I met Susan and Luke, and especially when Susan became board chair, they were great cheerleaders, they were stalwart supporters, and that was the 16 years that I was head of school. They were just wonderfully supportive. And now I've been retired 7 years, and they remain among our dearest friends, not just for me, but for my husband, Don McPherson, among our dearest friends. Just such caring, wonderful people.
My wife, Cindy, when she moved to Nashville before she was my wife, lived with them. Our first date was out to dinner with Luke and Susan, and we ended up getting married in their backyard. Cindy's father could not be there for health reasons. At the last minute, she kind of got cold feet, and Luke actually walked her down the aisle and gave her away. And so they're very special friends of ours.
I think that if we have a legacy in philanthropy, it would be that our children and our grandchildren and great-grandchildren will continue to be philanthropists, be active in their communities, and continue to make this world a better place.
Over the last couple of years, I'll just be walking down the street, I'll meet somebody, I'll get to what brought you to Nashville, say my grandparents, Luke and Susan, and just to see people's faces light up when they hear their names. That's pretty incredible to me. So that's been a gift that they've given me, is to get to know Nashville and get embedded in Nashville and get to be part of this incredible community. And what the gift Nashville's given me is a certain level of validation, because you grow up as a grandkid, you think your grandparents are heroes, and Nashville as a community has really said, yeah, they are.